Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and welcome to Industry Beacon, where we shine a light on the trailblazers, the disruptors, and the industry leaders shaping our future. And in each episode, we'll explore how they're staying ahead in their respective fields, one industry at a time. On this episode, now, is the Philippine agriculture industry on the brink of a comeback? After a year of extreme weather, animal diseases, and rising imports, can 2025 be the year our farmers regain their footing? Today, we'll uncover the story behind the struggles and successes of the sector that feeds the nation. Joining us live via Zoom is Raul Montemayor of the Federation of Free Farmers. He's here to share his insights on this sector with us. Welcome, Raul.
Thank you. Good morning also, Maiki, and all the listeners. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, we're glad to have you. This is a pivotal sector. This is what feeds us, okay? So, Raul, 2024 was a very difficult year for this sector. As we come into 2025, are we on better footing or are we still in recovery mode?
Well, you could say that we are starting from a very low base. So chances are we will improve over that low base, no? But there's still a lot of problems and backlogs in agriculture that we have to settle and address, and the recovery will take some time.
Let's talk about that low base. Can you give us an indication of just how low that base is and just how big and how many those backlogs are?
The Philippine Statistics Authority comes out with a quarterly a measurement of what they call agricultural output. No? And in the third quarter, our output went down by 3.7% for the whole agriculture sector. In the fourth quarter, chances are the output will also be relatively low because that was when the typhoons hit us. But this low output, or even you could say stagnant output, has been there since 2022, 2023. So we are proceeding at a very slow pace. And then 2024 was going downwards a bit. So 2025, hopefully we can recover, but it will be just recovering so that we go back to where we were before, instead of going up.
Just to sum up the challenges, sir, that hit us in 2024, there was El Nino, there was La Nina, the typhoons, the volcanic eruptions, African swine flu, bird flu, all of this led to elevated prices. Let me know if I missed anything. And out of this perfect storm of problems, sir, which one hit us the hardest in 2024?
Well, for the farmers, it's weather. The typhoons, no? And in the first half, it was El Nino, meaning very little rain. And then in the second half, it was too much rain. And when it comes to weather, the impact is almost nationwide, no? And that affects their crops and their livelihoods.
In peso terms, sir, how much did we lose in the agriculture sector on account of this perfect storm, this confluence of negative events?
I don't have that data right now, but in the third quarter, compared to third quarter of 2023, the output went down by 3.7%. No?
Okay.
Talking of billions of pesos.
Okay, as we come into 2025, and you speak to a lot of farmers on the ground about their situation, what are the most pressing concerns that they're raising right now?
I would say production costs still, no? Very, very expensive in terms of fertilizer, seeds, and other inputs. And then I think the bigger worry for them is when they harvest, the prices are very low. And this has something to do also with our policy on imports, where we allow cheaper imports to come in, especially at harvest time. So that is the time when the farmers are supposed to recover and generate some income for their families. But that opportunity is often erased when the cheap imports come in.
Correct. Ano ho ang solusyon dito, sir? What do you think is a win-win situation? We want to keep the prices low, but at the same time, we want all the farmers and fisher folk to really earn a decent living.
Well, we have been telling the government to manage the imports very well so that they address whatever shortages we have in our country. They plug the deficits, but they do not lead to over or untimely importation that depresses farm gate prices to the disadvantage of farmers. No? Because unfortunately, many of our economic managers believe in the theory of leave the market by itself.
Right.
It will find a way to
Correct
manage.
itself.
Oo, but ang nangyayari ngayon, over-importation, you can see it in the case of rice.
Correct.
And even smuggling. No? So for as long as these businessmen can bring in these products and make them money, even if we already have enough, they will continue to do that if there is no control over the imports. No?
Sir, you mentioned rice. That's a hot topic because the Philippines is the world's largest rice importer. Now, what does our reliance on rice imports as a nation, what does that mean for our local farmers, and what does it reveal about the state of our agriculture industry?
Yes, I did some computations in last year. Our local production was enough to supply only 80% of our annual demand, annual needs, 80%. No? But we imported, so we have a gap of about 20% that we need to import. But our imports were about 35% of our local demand. So in fact, right now, there is a lot of surplus rice in the market. Despite that prices are still high. But in terms of supply of rice, there's a lot of rice, including imported rice in the market. No? And that is depressing the prices of palay. And consumers have not had much relief despite the fact that the government reduced tariffs on rice imports. So the ones who are making money are the people in between. And I don't think that kind of system is what the government or the people want.
Our largest rice suppliers are, we have three. We have Vietnam, we have Thailand, and we have Pakistan. In terms of prices, sir, what is your outlook for rice prices this 2025?
Well, if we base it in 2024, for example, right now, the imported rice is coming in at about 37 pesos per kilo with the tariff paid already. Lagyan mo na 40 pesos na lang for other expenses. No? But a lot of that rice is reaching the retail market at 50 and up to 60 pesos per kilo. So there is a lot of profit making between the importation and the retail side. And unless that is fixed and government finds a way to sort of discipline the market and reduce profiteering, I think the prices will remain high.
Okay.
People will try to make as much money as they can.
Okay. When you say high, sir, what's a good range? What's a high range and what is the ideal range for rice prices?
I think for ordinary rice, it will be about 45 pesos per kilo because at that price, the palay price will be about 20 to 22 pesos per kilo, which is good enough for rice farmers. No? So that is for ordinary rice. And then for special rice or higher grade rice, maybe 50 above. But that is not a very big problem because people who buy that kind of rice are people who have money. Ang attention natin dun sa mga mahihirap, yung mga hindi masyadong may kaya, we try to find a way to supply them with rice that is reasonably priced, but which is also of good quality.
Okay, and sir, you mentioned that 80% of our rice supply comes from local farmers, and the gap, the balance, the 20%, we import that. How far are we from self-sufficiency in terms of rice, and what would we need in order to be completely self-sufficient?
We are actually moving away from self-sufficiency instead of towards it. No? In 2020 or 2019, when we opened up our market, when we passed the rice tariffication law and opened up the rice market to imports, our deficiency was about 8%. So we were importing about 8 to 10% of our requirement. Now our deficiency is 20%, in fact 21%. So we are, instead of becoming more self-sufficient, we are becoming less self-sufficient and more dependent on imports. No? I think we are heading in the wrong direction.
The wrong direction. Nakakatakot ho yan, sir. From 20% our dependence on imports, do you see that increasing, and to what number in 2025? And bakit ho? Why are we going in the opposite direction from self-sufficiency?
That is also something that's worrying us a bit. Almost half of the budget of the Department of Agriculture is for rice, kalahati ng budget. No? But when you look at our production of rice, it's practically stagnant. No? So we are spending billions of pesos every year to support an industry that is not growing. No? It's not reacting to the interventions and support coming from government. That is something I think that the DA has to seriously look into. Their programs are not working, despite the money that they are being given.
Which particular programs, sir, are not working?
We have to find out which. No? Kasi ang problema sa not only DA but a lot of government agencies, their primary basis for performance is how much of your budget you spent. It is not so much what was the impact of what you spent, but how much of it did you spend?
Correct.
Because if you did not spend all of your budget, next year you get a budget decrease. So parang whether the program is effective or not is secondary. And the tendency is just to spend and spend without really focusing on whether it's effective or not. So I think there's a lot of serious study that we need in how the budgets of the department are being spent.
That's a very interesting point you mentioned, Raul. It's not about how much we spend, but the impact of all of those expenses. We're going to have to take a quick break. We're going to continue this discussion when Industry Beacon returns. Please stay with us.
The latest weather updates and forecast.
Could be another tropical cyclone heading towards us at the end of the year.
With information to help us understand important aspects about our climate.
Can you tell us a bit about the jobs that will actually be produced by this project, not just in the construction, but of course in the actual running of this farm?
Weather HQ.
Whatever the weather, only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Welcome back to Industry Beacon, where we're continuing our discussion on the state of the agriculture sector with the General Manager of the Federation for Free Farmers, Raul Montemayor. Hi, Mr. Montemayor.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good to have you back. Now, just before we went on break, we were talking about rice. And we're talking about particularly the budget for the agriculture sector. Because in the budget for 2025, the 6.33 trillion budget, the agriculture sector actually saw a decrease in this budget. Now, given these constraints, what can we do?
Well, it's not only about money. We might have a smaller budget, but if we spend it well in the right programs, we might achieve a better result.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, sir, it's not about the amount, it's really the impact on the ground. How will this reduced budget impact the sector? And what are the programs that, in your opinion, you speak to the farmers on the ground and the fisher folk, what are the programs that we need to focus on in order to maximize the limited budget that we have for this sector?
Well, on the production side, I think we are already doing a lot in terms of providing inputs, machines, training, credit. Maybe we need a little bit more investments in irrigation and in post-harvest facilities. And then the side of the industry that needs a lot of support now, I think, is the marketing side. After the farmer harvests, all the way until the product reaches the market. And a lot of the inefficiencies in that sector, in the marketing side, are passed on to the farmers in terms of lower buying prices. So I think in terms of a strategic shift in how the DA money is spent, you provide more support on marketing, provide better market incentives to farmers, then the production will respond.
Okay, can you give us concrete examples of what you mean by this, sir?
Well, for example, in the case of rice, farmers plant. After 3 or 4 months, they harvest. But when they harvest, because they don't have facilities to dry and store, they are forced to pay to sell their products to local traders at a very low price. No? And then these local traders have to mill and bring all of the products to Manila and spend a lot for toll fees, for rough roads, sometimes even cotton police. No? But by the time it reaches the consumers, it's very expensive. But the palay was bought from farmers at a very low price. No? If we can fix those problems in between, maybe the farmers can get a better price and even consumers will benefit.
Okay, we've only got a few minutes left, so we got a couple of more questions that I wanted to bring to fore. Technology is often touted as a game changer for the agriculture sector. Are you pushing for any modernization to machinery that will specifically help the farmers?
For machinery, for planting technologies, I think there is enough on the table already. Maybe what we need to look at are new technologies on the digital side. Now, for example, now, instead of distributing fertilizers and seeds to farmers, farmers are being given debit cards that they can use to buy their own fertilizer and seeds. A more efficient way to handle things. And they are also using these cards to gather information on the farmers, hectareages, etc., which they can use for planning, for relief assistance after calamities, and many other uses. No? So we should take advantage of all these advances in technology and see how we can use them to help agriculture and farm.
Absolutely. Okay, another topic I wanted to bring to fore, sir. The government's Kadiwa ng Pangulo stores, they aim to offer discounted agricultural products to more Filipinos, and this will also help boost farmers' incomes. Based on your conversations on the ground, are these Kadiwa stores effective?
My personal bias is the government was not set up to put up Kadiwa stores. That is not their job. No? So it is costly. It diverts the attention of government employees away from their actual jobs. No? And whether it is sustainable is another question.
Correct.
And the reason why they're doing that is because prices are high. And people are looking for alternatives on where to buy cheaper products. And since the government is finding it very difficult to control the market, then it goes into actually selling these products. No? But it's not fixing the problem.
So they should focus more on fixing the problem than actually rolling out stores, which they're not equipped to do. Interestingly, the Marcos administration, they've got 108 Kadiwa stores now. That was in 2024. They want to roll out 1,500 nationwide by 2028 before the Marcos administration ends. What do you think of this? I know you're not in favor of this push, but what do you think of those numbers, and where else might these funds be better channeled towards?
Well, in the meantime, while they cannot fix the marketing system, the government has to show to the people that it's doing something, especially for the poor. No? So I will not say stop Kadiwa. Okay, let's do it, but let's not fool ourselves into thinking that that will solve the problem. It will not. No. And it is not a sustainable solution either. So while we are having this Kadiwa as a stopgap measure, let's look at why the market is not behaving properly.
On another front, sir, the number of farmers in the Philippines has been steadily declining as fewer young people see farming as a viable a career, especially after 2024. How big is the gap that needs to be filled? And what are your suggestions on how we can entice more people, especially the youth, to get into the very important business of farming and feeding the nation?
Well, the sad state of agriculture is the farmer will tell his children, mag-aral kang mabuti para pag-graduate mo, hindi ka na kailangan magsaka. No? So, because the experience of the farmer is he says never gotten rich or advanced in life from farming. No? It's like a curse to them. That kind of thinking passes on to the minds of their children. So nobody from the youth in the rural areas wants to farm anymore. If we want to change that, we need to make farming profitable and exciting for the youth. No?
Okay.
And that addressing all of the problems that their parents are facing now.
And going back to you, sir, on a more personal note, Raul, you graduated summa cum laude from Ateneo, valedictorian in, should we say the year 1977? Okay, so in your youth, you saw farming as, you put your heart in this sector, whereas you could have really gone to any of the multinationals at that time. Why are you in this sector? What keeps you in it? And why are you so passionate about this, sir?
I actually followed my father's footsteps. No. And he founded the Federation of Free Farmers, and the office was in our house. No. So I got to mix around with a lot of these people. And after college, I said, why not give it a try? I did not join it to go into farming, but I wanted to use my training in management to help the Federation undertake its different programs. No? So sinubukan ko, and over time I felt, mukhang satisfied naman na hindi naman ako nagugutom. Because of my experience, later on, because of my experience in with agriculture, I got involved in research groups. I went to international conferences to share my experience. So, maraming fringe benefits aside from the sweldo. And that kept me satisfied with what I was doing. No? So, it's not really a very big thing on my part. No? Everybody has a choice on what to do. And I tried something, I liked it, and I kept on with it.
All right. Well, thank you for the work you do in this vital sector, sir. Raul Montemayor, the General Manager of the Association of Free Farmers.
Thank you.
And that's it for today's show. I'm Maiki Oreta. Catch the Bilyonaryo News Channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on cable via Cignal Channel 24. Thank you for watching the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.